Fall Guys' launch was an overwhelming success. It's a fantastic game, and although I disagree with the way that the social media has been acting a little bit, generally I am thrilled to bits with how much fun this game is. The game types are completely fantastic. Well, most of them anyway. In this tier list, we're going to discuss the good, the bad, and frankly, the really ugly of Fall Guys. What can definitely stay and what needs to go. And we're going to start with F tier, where I have only one game. This is by far the worst thing Fall Guys has to offer, in my opinion. This game type has to go or be changed in some way, and that is Egg Scramble. You're going to find in this tier list that a lot of the team game types are in the low end, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. But Egg Scramble suffers from bullying. Plain and simple, once you fall behind, that's it. Game over. If you end up in the first 20 seconds of the game not getting as many eggs as the other two teams, they will go to your base and continuously take the eggs from you. Why would they do that? That seems unsportsmanlike. Well, at the end of the day, that's how they guarantee victory. Because two teams qualify and only one team doesn't, it makes far more sense for the teams to take from the person that is losing rather than taking from their competition. But because of that, if you're on the losing team early on, there is nothing you can do to come back in this game. It is not fun to play. The mechanics of actually grabbing the egg and whatever makes you trip over also don't feel completely polished. And for that reason, Egg Scramble is the absolute worst thing on offer in Fall Guys. As a side note, I do think Egg Scramble is salvageable, and there's two major ways they could do this. One, add a barrier to protect the losing team's base from enemy players. If the team in last place cannot get their eggs stolen, things are going to stay much, much closer, with the other teams having to take from each other while the last place team catches up. It's going to keep all of the team's scores a little bit more even, and it will be more exciting. Yes, it would be a little bit RNG, but it's already quite RNG anyway, and at least this way, everyone has a chance right up until the end. The other solution to this is that instead of making it so that two teams qualify, change it so that only one team qualifies. I don't know if that's achievable, as it would really mess up the number of people that qualify from round to round, but if only the winning team qualified from Egg Scramble, then it would get rid of that incentive for the teams to take from the loser, and instead they'd be incentivized to take from the winning team, which again would keep the scores much more even. Something's got to change in Egg Scramble, but we don't have time to talk about that all day, so we're going to move on to D tier. D tier, where I have two games. It's going to be Team Tail Tag first. Team Tail Tag feels bad because you can just lose even when you play perfectly. You could have a tail right from the beginning, you could hold on to it for the whole game, and you could lose because your team sucked. And that's what feels bad about the team games. Fall Guys generally has a very good concept where if you're good, you typically qualify. Yes, there's a lot of RNG. Yes, it's very random, but it is also very skill dependent. The problem with Team Tail Tag is that even if you're amazing and you play perfectly, you can still lose, and that doesn't feel fun. It's also quite random. Nothing in the first minute and a half of the game matters. It's only really the last 20 to 30 seconds where if you have a tail, really that means something. Because honestly, up until then, you're probably going to get your tail stolen from you because the game type is pretty random and it doesn't take much for someone to appear out of nowhere and take your tail off of you. The other game type I have in D tier, and this one hurts, it's Royal Fumble. It's another tail game, but this time it's one of the final games you can play. And I'll tell you, it feels really bad when you get right to the end of Fall Guys. Yes, final 6, and you get presented with Royal Fumble. Again, it's just random. Someone starts with sort of an advantage because they start with the tail, but at the end of the day, like with Team Tail Tag, it doesn't really matter who has the tail in the first minute and a half. It's only the last 20 to 30 seconds that counts. My friend Bill has won this a couple times by going AFK for the first minute and then jumping in, grabbing the tail at the last 20 seconds and holding on to it. Because it's really only the last 20 or so seconds that matter. This game type is not intense. It's not fun. The map's too big. It's just irritating. And not what we want for a final showdown game. We're moving on to C tier, where we have a few more game types. We're going to start with the team ones. We have Jinxed and Hoarders. They're not quite as bad as the team game types that we've talked about already, Team Tail Tag and Egg Scramble, but they are pretty frustrating. Hoarders, yes, there is that ability to bully. It's not quite as prominent as it is in Egg Scramble, but it is a very similar style of game. I'm giving this C instead of D because generally it's more fun to push the balls around than it is to steal each other's eggs. And Jinxed, in theory, if you're really, really good, you can actually make a difference. If you're amazing and you can stop anyone from the other team from touching you, you can make a difference for a few seconds. You have some autonomy. It actually feels like each member of the team makes a difference. That's why it's C, not D. Another game type we have in C is Perfect Match. Not because it's frustrating, not because it's too difficult or too easy. It's just boring. I mean, actually, it is too easy. People very rarely get eliminated from Perfect Match. It's just a waiting game. It's frustrating, especially when streaming, that you have to ignore Twitch chat for a while and concentrate on remembering where the fruits are. Or I guess just copy where everyone else goes. But honestly, people just don't get eliminated from this game. It's just a waste of time. And the final game that I have in C tier, and again, this is a little bit disappointing because it's one of the final showdown maps, and it's Full Mountain. Full Mountain needs to change. They need to double its length or make it more difficult. It doesn't have nearly as many hazards as the other race maps, and this is it. This is the final showdown. This should be putting all of your skills to the test, and it should last a little longer than the 30 or so seconds that it does. It is the lowest rated of my race maps. Because, yeah, if I was just comparing them to the other race maps, I'd probably give it a B. But I'm also being a little bit harsher on Full Mountain because it is one of the final showdown maps. And this should be the absolute top that Fall Guys has to offer. It's C tier. Moving on to B tier, where we have our final team games. We have Rock and Roll, Full Ball, and Hoopsie Daisy. Hoopsie Daisy is fun. Because it actually feels like you have some autonomy. If you play out of your mind, if you position yourself well, if you don't miss those hoops, you can make a difference to your team's success, a meaningful difference. It's unlikely that you are going to play amazingly perfectly and your team loses. It will happen sometimes, of course. That is the problem with all of the team games, but it's not going to happen quite as often as the other games. Full Ball and Rock and Roll, it's just pretty fun to move the ball around. Full Ball actually feels a little like Rocket League. It feels a little bit laggy to me sometimes, and it's kind of hard to get the knack of how you're supposed to use jumping and diving to actually launch the ball towards the enemy goal. But it's really fun, especially when you have a small team in it, like 5v5, and when 3 of your teammates are your squad mates that you jumped in with. It's a really good time in that scenario. Rock and Roll is another bully one, but it feels a little more fun than the others because you can actually see what's going on. There's a palpable on screen. There's this ball, there's that ball. Oh, I better go and try and stop that ball from moving. Yeah, it's a little annoying because it's got the same issues as all the team games and also the bully issues. But again, it's a pretty fun time. I'm also going to put Block Party and Rollout in B tier. They're pretty fun. I prefer Rollout a little over Block Party, but generally the problem with these game types is that they are too easy. I wish things moved a little bit faster. I wish Block Party had more mixed up patterns and actually made you move faster. The blocks moving across are very forgiving. Even if you get touched by it, you're fine. Maybe they should make it so that getting touched by a block is instant falling off the map. That would be better, but generally I just find these game types too easy and therefore not that much fun. They are fun though, you know. B tier isn't bad. I do enjoy B tier. They're just not as good as they could be. And that's going to be it for B tier. And now as we get into A tier where things get really good, and I'm going to be listing now almost all of the race maps. We've got the Whirligig, Fruit Shoot, Gate Crash, DoorDash, and Dizzying Hikes, and Seesaw. Is that all of them? I think that's all of them. That's all of the race maps, and they're just all good fun. This is what Fall Guys is all about. Racing to get ahead of all of your enemies and getting the qualification. They're all relatively easy in the first round because quite a few players qualify. And they all have little elements that do stick out, like Seesaw is particularly hard. But once you get the knack to it, I find that it's pretty easy to qualify. But getting that knack is the hard part in the first place. And I think these games are all a fantastic mix of luck and skill. They're always fun to play. And they're a good laugh. Again, they're way better than Full Mountain. They're all going to be A tier. Along with Tiptoe, actually. And Tiptoe is a lot more RNG than it is skill. But I always find myself having the best time playing Tiptoe. I don't know what it is. It's just laugh out loud funny. Every single time I play this level, it is funny. And yeah, sometimes there'll be these frustrating instances where you don't qualify when you really feel like you should have. But it's a laugh either way. And if you're not playing this game to have a laugh, then what are you doing? I'm also going to put Jump Club in A tier. It's a little bit more fun, than Rollout and Block Party. As it feels a little bit harder, that thing starts moving really, really quickly, and it's funny to have everyone grouped up trying to gauge the correct place to stand so that they can jump over the low obstacle while not getting hit by the top one. It feels trickier, and it feels like a little bit more brain power has to go into surviving this game mode than the others, which is why Jump Club gets an A rank from me. If I've been keeping track correctly, there should be 2 game types left. And these are the best ones. These are S tier. Fall Guys doesn't get better than this. We're going to start with the one race map, sort of, that I didn't mention before. Slime Climb. Slime Climb is fantastic. It is ruthlessly hard. It's really funny when you get Slime Climb as your first game type and only 10 or 11 people qualify, because everyone just falls off. Nobody's finishing. It's very, very difficult, and I believe that this is a perfect mix of luck and skill. You have to be good to do Slime Climb, and it feels good to qualify from this game. I wish that Full Mountain was more like Slime Climb. If they could make like an infinite Slime Climb that never ends, where there's no top, and you just keep climbing until there's only one person left, and the slime gets faster and faster as you go, that would be fantastic. Slime Climb is brilliant. But my absolute favorite game in Fall Guys, the ultimate S tier game, is Hexagon. Even if I can't freaking win it. Hexacon is, again, that perfect mix of luck and skill that makes this game so much fun to play. There's so much strategy involved. Like, you don't lie to me. You learned a little bit later than you'd like to admit that you can just jump from hex to hex, and therefore you'll get rid of the hexes more slowly. You don't need to lie to me. I certainly found that out far later than I'd like to admit. But it's so much fun. The ability to dive just a little bit further, and then if you jump quickly enough, sometimes you can stay on the correct platform. But also the risk reward to staying up as high as you possibly can, and then jumping down and trying not to fall too many levels at once. This game type is hilarious. This game type is funny. This game type is intense. And this game type is everything we could want from a final game. That's why Hexagon is the best game mode in Fall Guys. I posted a link to the tier list maker in my Discord server. I'd love for you to have a go at it and let me know what you think are the best and worst game types in Fall Guys. Also, let me know in the comments if you agree with my tier list or not. I'll be streaming this game a lot over the next few weeks, so twitch.tv/Falcone hosts Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.